with the introduction. So let's do it this way. Whenever you have an opportunity to ask a question or you want to make a comment in the course of the meeting, especially when it comes to the Q&A section, first you can start by introducing yourself because it will be nice for us to get to know the person on the other side better. Okay, so guys, without further ado, I think we need to leave the floor so that Jennifer could start our presentation. Jennifer, I must say, is someone whose profile caught my attention while I was going through on LinkedIn. And I found out that she's passionate about community service. She served with the Peace Corps, and she served in the Western Africa, Mali to be precise, which is just our neighbor here. And I read a little bit about her work in Mali, and I discovered that she's passionate about building community. And I just felt, and I believe that this is the kind of person that will be of great resource to us, going by our background, going by experience in different countries, especially third world countries like Morocco, Iraq, and Mali. I know she's now in the US with a company called To You. And let me not say much because I know Jennifer will do the introduction as she begins our presentation. So, Jennifer, this is a community of mostly resource persons, I must say. Though initially we wanted to use this platform to engage the young people, but we discovered that most of the audience during the webinars are more of working class professionals. And what we do is that the recordings of this session is made public to members of the community who can be part of the live session, and also to other persons who may not necessarily be community members. So Jennifer, having said that, the floor is now yours.
So
Jennifer, okay.
am I unmuted? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're muted now.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you
Okay.
now, loud and clear.
Wonderful. And can you see my screen? I just want to make sure I'm not as fluent in Cisco, but I want to get there.
Oh yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. I really so much appreciate the invitation to join you today. As you said, my name is Jennifer Bamgoura. I currently work as a graduate career coach for students who are in master's and doctoral programs, who are exploring career pivots and transitions. And I spend a lot of my time every day in LinkedIn, using LinkedIn with students. And I was so excited to connect with Uko George through LinkedIn around something that I get really excited about, where you had said, you're the future of work, and thinking about how you'd said, like, what topic gets you excited. And I really feel like no matter what industry people are working in, LinkedIn is somewhere that you can be spending a fair amount of time to grow not only in your knowledge, but also in your network. And so I put together a presentation today to talk through a few different things, including, let's see if I can get this to work with me, why LinkedIn matters to your career, making your profile powerful and authentic reflection of you, how do you find your people on LinkedIn, and then also publishing. But to take a step back, like as you shared, talking about Niles, you shared your major in college. I was an art history and French major in undergrad. And 2 months after graduation, I moved to Mali in West Africa for 4 years, where I ended up living. And I lived in a village about 9 hours north of the capital for 2 years. And then moved to Bamako, where I lived for another 2 years until the coup d'etat in March of 2012. I'm so sad to see even just what's happened in the past 24 hours, and that Mali is like still struggling with maintaining stability in government right now. So it's very disheartening connecting with family and friends that are still there. So I'm hoping for change. But I met my husband when I started my 3rd year, when I moved to the capital. So my husband is a veterinarian from Guinea and now works in public health here in the US. Well, Actually, he works in public health in sub-Saharan Africa, but we're based here in the U.S. And so when I came back from the Peace Corps, I moved to DC, and I'd never looked for a job in the United States. I didn't know. I mean, I had some understanding. Oh, one second. Please go downstairs. Of what it was to look for a job, but no one had told me what to do. I was fumbling around with my networking. And it was through my Peace Corps network that I was able to even find my first job. And from then on, I've really leaned on my both Peace Corps alumni or returned Peace Corps volunteers and other people who are engaged in areas around West Africa or international education to advance in my career. And a lot of it now has been through LinkedIn. So I get super excited thinking about LinkedIn for everyone. So kind of got cut off here, but the LinkedIn vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And so when UPCO reached out about connecting, and I saw the future of work in Eureka's vision, and it seemed so aligned with, I think, what LinkedIn is trying to do. And I genuinely believe that the future of work, it really does depend on creating opportunity for everyone, not just for a select few. And obviously, with a growing youth population and growing overall population in sub-Saharan Africa, where I'm specifically interested, I have my child here who might be making an appearance. There's so much opportunity, I think, for LinkedIn in sub-Saharan Africa. Here's my son, Alseni. Bum bum. Say hi.
Hello.
This is COVID, right, with home life. So the mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. As you all know, there's over 610 million members, 2 members per second, and 125 monthly unique visitors. And I think these numbers have only grown. I think in the past year, I saw a statistic recently that there's been a 60% growth in content creation on LinkedIn. And so what I wanted to talk with you all today are just some tips that I have found useful for myself as I've and that I use with students to, whether you find yourself in a place that you're looking for a new role or you're wanting to grow in your current thought leadership in your position, I think there's going to be something here for you today. Oh, sorry, one second. Asani, arrête, stop. Uh-oh. Did I lose my screen? Uh-oh. Let's see. Can I get to share my screen again? I'm sorry. You took away my screen there. Alseni.
It's okay. If you just look on the bottom icons, you're gonna see that little bucket with an arrow pointing up. So then you should be able to click on there and share PowerPoint again.
Okay, super.
Just take your time. It's okay.
Thank you. Let's see. The bucket, share content.
To leadership at my job, and the humans just walk in. And my leadership have to say hello. Okay.
So you can all see now?
Yes.
So really, it starts with the headshot, and that you're going to get 9 times more connection requests, 21 times more profile views, 36 times more messages when you have a completed headshot. And I think this is something too that on the back end that a lot of people will be surprised when I screen share with students, that they're like, oh, I didn't know my picture wasn't showing up when a second degree connection sees my profile, because they didn't know that their privacy settings were set. And I'm sure Niles is on the other end saying, like, privacy, yes, you want to make sure you understand and are aware of your privacy settings, control that. But knowing that too, that when people can see that you have a profile picture, it makes it seem like a more of a real person there. And then here are some examples of what makes a great headshot. Choosing a photo that looks like you, getting someone to go outside with whatever phone you have, plain background. It doesn't have to be a professional photography or professional photographer. And then here, writing a compelling headline. And this is something that when I was looking for examples, and let me just get my husband to come get the baby. Is fine. It really can be as simple as putting in the keywords that you're interested in. I really liked this profile here at the left where it's like, okay, he's interested in human resources, business development, startups, and event management. And for me, and I loved his picture. It's simple. I can see it's close cropped. And he is following this person, and I'm going to show you how I found a few different people. And I can tell that he's taken some tips from learning from this career coach who's also based in Nigeria. Yeah, for the different things that they're both interested in. So it's immediately apparent. When you look at someone's profile, what your actual interests are. Sometimes people will use their current role as their headline, and that's generous if you're essentially giving your real estate away to your current company, which is great. But if you want people to know what your areas of interest are, I think that the headline is a great place to do it, and that's the area that people are going to see first when they see your profile. And then here, these are different things that you can list if someone is unemployed or even if you are not, your areas of expertise. If you're seeking help, if you want different things, you can list that and make it immediately apparent in your profile. Something else that's really important is adding the industry so that people can filter for you on the back end. And if recruiters are using it, they are going to be using those filters to find your specific industry. And then here is a beautiful looking profile. I don't know if you recognize anyone here, but making sure that within your profile, you're telling your professional story. And I really do like it's just so much fun connecting with someone from no matter what the distance, and you can tell immediately from that about section and from the headline that we have things that are in common and that we're both interested in. And so, just reading through Uko's about section, I can tell that we have areas of interest that are shared, including the future of work, the future of jobs, that you're based in Nigeria. And I do some of the recommendations from LinkedIn around keeping it conversational. You can even keep this about section in the first person. So it would be as though you're meeting somebody in an elevator or just on the street and telling them about who you are and what you do. And even in the first person is acceptable. Here in your work experience, sometimes people include their work experience and they only keep their company and the title, like manager of content. But I think here it's an interesting place to include maybe a narrative, like a favorite story that you have from that professional experience. And also it's a place where I keep my own anecdotes from my past jobs, so I know to reference them in interviews. So I use it almost as my personal CRM or database for stories that I want to share from past jobs. You can also, here it says, adding examples of your work. You're able to include links from your work. Asani. Yeah. And then adding skills, getting doors. I'm just going to go quickly through these profiles so we can get to the good meat of the section. Here, I'm going to pass over a sweet little baby. Naked baby. Sorry, this is true real life. I'm so sorry, everyone. Oh my gosh, really trying to hold it all together here. And so making sure you're adding those skills and getting endorsed for other people so that people can find you and what your areas of interest are. Something here that I think people really don't give much consideration to, but is this recommendation section. And you'll see sometimes people, like their last recommendation they have is from 10 years ago, 6 years ago, and then all of a sudden you'll see 2 to 3 to 4 recommendations within a month. And when I see that, I think, oh wow, they must be job seeking. They must have just reached out to a bunch of people to get a number of recommendations before they move into their next career. So I know it's hard to be consistent about it, but I'd recommend either putting a calendar reminder so that every 3 or 4 months, oh, who could I reach out to who could give me a recommendation about a project that we worked on? And it doesn't even have to be something huge, but something that so that consistently you have anecdotes to turn to that you could refer either a recruiter or a hiring manager to either quote in a cover letter or quote in a conversation. People have said this about what it's like to work with me. And having that in the recommendation section is just a great way to legitimize that it's coming from a real person and they can see the working relationship and so forth.
My phone is on. It's too
This
funny.
skills assessment section is new and they largely are geared toward technical skills. So it's more of the programming like skills. And so if you have skills in that area, C++, SQL, Stata, I've heard the tests are very difficult, but it's a great place to do free assessments that reinforce your abilities in whatever skills they have listed as options. Something else is making sure your location is up to date, that you've included your education, and I'm briefly going to go share with you some different ways you can leverage education in your profile. Your volunteer experience is included, as well as any significant accomplishments that you would want shared with your community. One of the favorite things that I love doing with my students is how to find your people on LinkedIn. And I think this is where a lot of people can sometimes feel like they get stuck. Like you find your initial group, but how do you expand beyond who your immediate circle of people or your circle of expertise is? So I'm going to show you now a few tips for doing that. Uko, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? I want to check I can't see the video since I'm sharing my screen, but is everything going okay?
You're doing great. Everything is okay.
Okay, super. So first, adding connections. And this is what I say is with students is it's building your well before you're thirsty. So, you're thirsty and you're looking for that job. You are, you're not happy in your current role. You're unemployed. There's situations where we all find ourselves, and we could find ourselves in a space of desperation or I urgently need to connect with people. Ideally, 6 to 9 months before you get to that point, you already have built up your network and have those, even just like your whole lifetime, built connections so that you're not connecting with people as you need to be asking them for a referral or for a contact or for, advice on your job search. So I do recommend personalizing invitations so that you can remember yourself and so that they know why you're reaching out. Hey, Uko, I saw you're working in the future of work in West Africa, and that's an area of interest of mine as well. Happy to connect here. The messages can be quite simple, but it really indicates for the other party, why are you reaching out in the first place? And this is a place too, and I may be preaching to the choir here, but just in case I can tell most people maybe are somewhat advanced in their careers, but sometimes we can mix of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the different ways that we communicate with people on different social media platforms. And generally on LinkedIn, you are focusing solely on that professional, focusing on what we have that intersects in a professional sense. But at the same time, I've found people who I reach out to because we are raising our children bilingual. And so I reach out to other people who I see they have in their profile somewhere, something that is a little more personal. It's really up to your comfort level and what the kind of people that you're interested in connecting with. So one of the, I think, least, maybe tapped into areas is on LinkedIn is this see all. And so when you go into someone's profile, so you click into their profile, and then it has their picture, their headline, the about section, and then it'll have this activity, and it shows see all. And when I find somebody who I think seems really interesting, like this woman that I came across this morning, she's a career coach in Nigeria. I think that's super interesting. I would love to see what other types of people she's connected to. So I don't think you can see anymore. You used to be able to see like all of your first degree connections. I don't think you can see that. But what I can see is if I go into her see all, and then I put red circles around them. So I go to see all, and then I go either into all activity or posts. I click on that, and I can see her past activity. And what I do is then I go to see who liked it or who commented on it. And if they make really interesting comments or they have a really interesting looking headline, those are the people that then I go into and I click into their profile and I reach out to connect, because we have something. Now let's, it could be any area of interest. Like I don't know if you go by Ben or Bernard. Ben, you said you're interested in public service and the intersection of technology and public policy. So you'll find your people who are interested in that space. And generally, people who are liking or commenting on it, they are also very interested in those things. So you can almost create this own community of people who maybe you hadn't connected with before because you didn't know them from your immediate community or your school or your workplace. So it's just a fun way to get some new voices in your LinkedIn algorithm and your feed, is by using, going to see all and then either all activity and then looking at those comments and likes. And here's some advice from LinkedIn on who you should connect with, people that you actually know, if you have a shared location, shared field or function. I know as a woman that I have had a different experience on LinkedIn than some men, where I will get invitations from men who then want to move into other things. Oh, you have a beautiful picture. And I'm like, nope, gonna have to be a hard no. So sometimes, you make your own call. Some people ask me, oh, well, should I accept anyone who invites? I say it's a personal decision. If you are open to connecting with anyone, then you should. If you always get to decide what's, correct for you. And then connections versus followers. I'm going to show you in a minute a reason why I also, while I love making first degree connections, I also really see the value in only following people and what that can bring to your LinkedIn content. Because ultimately, whether you're looking to move in your career or you are simply wanting to grow in you build your knowledge around a certain subject area, there's a place for that on LinkedIn. So I'll show you. So one way you can do that is through following companies and associations. Here you can see, this is a company that has over 96,000 followers. So generally you can tell by the number of people that are either following the company or the number of employees, if it's one that could be relevant for you to follow as well, because these companies are posting job openings. You can come in and research the people who work there. You can click either on the see all, over 1,700 employees, or come in on this left-hand side, home, about, jobs, people, to see who's working there and who you may want to connect with. Similarly for education. So whether you went to a certain school or maybe you live near a certain school, you can search for that on LinkedIn. This is open to anyone. You don't have to have premium. You don't have to have gone to the school. And you can search the alumni and use the different filters to connect with alumni of either a university near you or a university that you went to yourself. And you can use the search features are really rich in the different filters. So you can filter by location, no matter where you are in the world, by subject matter. So you could put in that public policy and went to University of Lagos, and and then filter people that way and so forth. So I really recommend playing around with those alumni filters. But this is the example of somebody that I follow personally. So Azana Razwork, he's the founder and managing director at Africa 118 Inc. I don't know how I started following him. I can't remember now, but I follow him. And then this company, Growth Africa, made a post that he commented on. This was just today. So this then showed up in my feed, and I thought, wow, I'd actually never heard of Growth Africa before. Let me start following that company. And so this is where I it's the power of following can be so strong that even if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't necessarily know this person, or I don't want to reach out to be a first degree connection, that's okay. You can follow their work. And then when they like or comment on things on LinkedIn, it'll show up in your feed. And that's going to give you different opportunities to make connections to either companies, jobs, or thought leadership that you maybe wouldn't see normally. So that, I think that's a pretty fun way to find different companies. And then similarly in groups. So in this top search bar in LinkedIn, you can put in a location, you can put in a keyword, and then filter for location. And then you choose to filter by either companies, groups, or people. And you can request to join these groups. I do recommend, you want to make sure, like this one has over 90, this top one, Nigeria Business Communities, has over 90,000 members. I think the groups feature has some room to grow on LinkedIn, but it still is a great place even now to connect with like-minded people who have your specific area of interest. And again, you might want to use a more specific keyword to search, like beyond, here I just used Nigeria, but you could use your sector area of interest or so on. And here again are some ways, different types of groups and how to engage. So schools you've attended, your different associations, hobbies, and so on. And then here, publishing on LinkedIn. And this is, I think, where a lot of people get held up. They think, well, I don't have something unique to say. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to say. And really, I think, I'm not sure if I have the statistic later on, but there are over 690 million people who are on LinkedIn. I think it said, what, 125 million monthly users. And yet only, I think, 3 to 9 million people are actually posting content. So the opportunity for your content to be seen is nearly exponential. And you can really I like to just even look around me and think about inspiration of how would I want to, look around, what do I see around me, my camera, a different book, my notebook, write down things that I've seen in the day, and then how it relates to different areas of interest that I have, which include workforce development, career services, looking for a job. Granted, those are going to be more geared toward posts on LinkedIn anyways, but whether you're happy in your current role and you can elevate, like at Niles, I think of you, you're at, and maybe you already do this, but you work at Cisco, so that could be posting blog posts from your company, reinforce the value of the product that you all offer. Or Ben, if you all produce a certain piece of deliverable for the government of Nigeria and you want to tag the different people who were involved to elevate their status and the contributions they made. I think sometimes on social media it can feel like, oh, I need to talk about myself, or it can feel very me focused, when really by lifting up other people, it shows what a great, I think, person you are and how connected you can be to others. And I think that's the beauty of LinkedIn, is that it really reinforces this virtual global community, and that it doesn't have to be only people focused on themselves. You can be thinking about others at the same time. Again, here are some things to write about. What's happening in your industry? People want to know what your unique experience and perspective is. Like Niles, I am waiting for the post about the intersection of dance and cybersecurity, because I know that there is something there, and that things like that are connected, and people relate to that story of vulnerability of, like, my parents would never have agreed to send me to school for dance, and so I went to school for this, and like, look at me now. And for me, if I were beginning in my career or beginning in my studies, stories like that provide an opportunity for me to see myself in someone else and to continue to pursue what it is that I get excited about, while also having that realistic perspective of, like, well, I would love to work for a great company like Cisco one day, and what that looks like. So those are just some things to consider as well, in addition to giving shout outs to colleagues and friends about successes that they've had in their work. some different, and I want to give us enough time for any Q&A. So I'll go through this last couple slides. We're almost there. You can think about doing short posts. You can do up to, I think, 1,300 characters in that post. Ask for advice. LinkedIn has this amazing new poll feature. So if you have a question that you've been wondering, like what area of work are people most excited about moving into in a post-COVID world? And then give people 1 to 4, I think there's up to 5 options. Get a poll. It's been, that's even new within the past month, is being able to do these polls, and it gets you connected to different people who maybe haven't engaged or liked your posts otherwise, but something I really recommend trying out. Video. This is another area where you may be saying to yourself, Jennifer, social media, I don't want to like put myself out there. I feel awkward about it. And yet if you do a video, I think LinkedIn's algorithm is like boosting that native content that people are producing themselves within the platform. And it will go to, you'll get so many views if you do just 60-second video of like, tell me the top 3 things that are happening in your industry that you've seen since COVID started, as an example. Articles are another way. Those are the longer form ones. I will say they don't get as many views right now, but it's great if you find yourself, again, I've only started following Niles and I've been emailing with Uko, but if you find yourself as a founder or as an established professional in a different field, getting questions like, how did you get your start in cybersecurity? Or what is it like to found, the Eureka Labs? If you consistently get these questions from people, writing an article can be a great way to say, I would love to meet and talk with you about that. Here's an article I wrote about it, so that you can have that introduction to the topic area without you having to spend the first 15 minutes of the conversation talking about the same thing that you cover every time. And so then when you get on the phone with somebody or have that informational interview, you can get into the specifics and nitty-gritty. Here's just an example of a quick short form post. And then video, same deal. I really think, this video here is 5 minutes, but I found really great, a good experience by just posting videos that are up to 60 seconds long, because generally people are not spending that long. I do recommend using captions if you're able to either get an app or subtitle it, so because people often don't listen with the volume. So if you can read along, then that's very helpful. And then again, articles that I had mentioned. And here are some tips just for folks, as if you're watching the recording here, about making a catchy headline, including images, and yeah, making some good tips for, it says here to include exactly 8 images. These are tips from LinkedIn, so I guess they know best. And here are those statistics that I were talking about, that only 3 million users are sharing content weekly. So that's 3 million out of the 690 million that are on LinkedIn. So again, if you are saying to yourself, whether you're looking for a job, whether you want to establish yourself as a thought leader in your current role, or whether you're looking to pivot, LinkedIn is a place that you can sort of grow in your own understanding of that subject area expertise, and also seek the input and crowdsource expertise from others. So thank you so much. That is my presentation. I'm glad I still have left a little bit of time for questions. I'm, again, very much appreciate having the opportunity to join you all today, and the great community that you all have created, focus on the future of work, which I get very excited about. So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen if I can make sure I can figure out how to do it. And there we go. I'll pause, stop sharing. And now I have the screen back up. So I'm happy to field any questions either in the chat, or if you want to come off mute. And Uko, maybe if you have another protocol too, I'm happy to follow whatever you all have done in the past.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. That was a great presentation. And I want to throw the floor open to anybody who has question. If you have a question, please just unmute your mic and go ahead and ask your question. So the floor is now open to anybody who has a question. And go ahead and ask your question.
I'll go first.
Is that Ben?
Yeah.
Bernard?
Yes.
You go by Ben?
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to say that this is so timely for me because I had always knew that LinkedIn is one resource that I haven't taken advantage of, even though I'm there, but I somehow knew that I could do more, much because I have multiple interests. All right, and again, that's where I want to ask my question. So you talked about people who are looking for a job, people who just want to, or who have a careers and they want to grow their careers and so on. Okay, so for me, as I said, I have multiple interests. So I hold a position in government. Also a social entrepreneur. I have an innovation platform which I founded, and now I also have a data big data analytics company which I also founded. So my interest it's multiple, not necessarily conflicting. So what is the best way for me, because for me to project myself, because I also have that challenge even in other social media platforms. Sometimes I'm kind of confused whether I should be promoting Ben as a brand or one of my interests. All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm making much sense to you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I totally can relate. I mean, I have a photography and video business outside of work. I work full time as a career coach. I'm in a doctoral program. Like everyone, it seems like it's so exciting and then can also be exhausting having lots of different areas. And I'll say too here, career services and this like LinkedIn coaching is an art, not a science. So this is my opinion and that's what I stand by. But I think there's lots of room for interpretation and what really you feel comfortable with. But I think how I would recommend approaching something like having so many different interests is when someone asks you what you're interested in and what you do, how do you communicate that to people? Do you say, you know what? I think like it's all in the framing and how you offer it up the narrative to others. So it's like, you know what? I have so many different interests. Here are the 3 to 5 things that I'm interested in. And in your about section, that's an opportunity for you to write about it. Now, maybe in your experience section, you're going to have each of those broken out as a separate experience. And for free, you can create your own LinkedIn landing page for your companies if you have distinct companies for each of those areas. But I would say, and of course, this is going to be dependent too. Like, I don't know your specific situation. If you're able, like my workplace, I can post about my job. You have to, some people have to get permissions about different things. I can post about my outside photography work. I feel comfortable doing that. So I don't know the particularities of your situation, but I would maybe even think about, okay, there's 5 days in a work week. So if I wanted to give this a test run and see what I'm going to get out of LinkedIn, you would think about what are your personal goals? Like, do I want to be working full time for myself in 2 years and focusing on that social entrepreneurship piece? And maybe that's the community that you want to focus on and build out. But maybe you have multiple that you simultaneously want to be building. So I would even try out, okay, well, one day I'm going to post about social entrepreneurship and use the hashtags, like hashtag social entrepreneurship, hashtag if you're focusing on Nigeria, hashtag whatever it is. And then the next day post about your innovation platform or post about your government work. And I think many people will respect and understand that people have a lot of different interests going on, and it'll actually feel, I'm sure there's more of a common thread than even you maybe realize in it. Like what you had shared in the beginning was like, you think everyone at your core, you think everyone should be part of public service, not necessarily part of public office. And I think that sounds like that passion comes through in like your different areas of interest. So it's probably has some sort of have thread throughout. And honestly, you know, start following different people who are working in your space in the different industries. And I say, see what they're posting and like what kind of posts are they rating? And maybe you would want to copy or emulate a similar style, but for your unique companies.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's quite helpful.
Okay.
Okay, some other question, comment? Who wants to go next?
Go next.
Free?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for giving us such insightful presentation around LinkedIn. I think it's something that it's really, really worthwhile. One thing that I did look up before I joined this meeting is how many Nigerians are actually leveraging LinkedIn, and it was 0.34%. And so one of the things that when I think of social media is I think about how people go to Instagram and they just post their meals. They post a picture of them eating or walking down the street, or if you go to Facebook, they post all these kind of random things and they post them in quantity, in huge quantities. What is your suggestions around what you should post, what you shouldn't post on Facebook, on LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think too, like, I don't know, have you seen those things now where they'll show like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it'll show the same idea, but how people like your LinkedIn picture is you're like a super professional, and Instagram is like you have a drink in your hand, and Facebook is you're with friends, like that kind of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly, I do.
Yeah.
I do exactly.
Okay. So
the reason I ask is because right now it's not well utilized from a lot of people that I know in Nigeria. I want to kind of make sure that we get that picture, you know, because I think it carries weight.
No, I think it's such a good question. And not that there should be like LinkedIn police out there for what is and isn't appropriate. Because like, okay, some people want to post certain questions or content. And that's, for me, I want to feel like with any, even if you're not making posts, even if it's in your comments on people's pictures, how am I contributing something to the conversation, to the professional conversation on LinkedIn? So, you know, Facebook, Instagram, okay, like, yeah, you had a good time with your friends and family. Like, I do think that there is a place for the personal on LinkedIn, but I really think at its core, LinkedIn is like more of a let's be having a thoughtful conversation with one another sort of platform. And that can be around a lot of different areas, but really focusing on economic opportunity and the future of work. And so if it's not, you know, sometimes I'll get messages from people who say hi on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, you can go ahead on LinkedIn and treat it as though it's not a business opportunity, but you have to give people more information about why you are providing a comment. Or if somebody posts makes a post and you want to comment on it and you say something like, that's great, which not that I don't do it. Some people are like, oh, that's really cool. Feel like with every post or even comment, how can I make an additional contribution and give my perspective? So say someone writes about the cost of items increasing and what that impact has on the salary of people. You can say, you know, thank you so much for sharing. This is what my experience has been. I've seen that in my own neighborhood where the price of X has gone to Y, and it really is a big problem that I see it. Now, because people want to know, well, what is the experience on the ground from other people? So you get to amplify your own voice and of others. So again, there's not a hard and fast rule of what is and isn't appropriate, but I do think it's trying just to be thoughtful. I think really what I try to do is like, how am I actually adding value to this platform, so that because everything that I post, someone else could see. So it's different from other platforms where like you can go into my activity and see, even if we aren't connected, depending on your privacy settings. So you want to think like, wow, like a future employer is going to see this. My current colleagues are going to see my comments. So how do you want other people to perceive you professionally? And I just keep that mindset on me whenever I am sending invitation requests, making posts, or making comments on things, is thinking it's as though I were in an office building and communicating with other people, and that's the sort of like interaction that we're having. What do you think, Niles? Do you think that resonates or with what your experience?
Yes, so I definitely agree with all of the things you've mentioned there. I agree, and I think that's probably the same thing I would say. Simply because it's your brand. It's your brand, and it's a professional brand, just like Jennifer just said. It's your professional brand, and anyone can see that. And one thing I like to add is that I have been on interview panels before. And one of the first things I do when I get a resume on my table is to go look at their LinkedIn profile. And so if you're posting about food and I'm hiring for engineering job, then I'm gonna be like, well, this guy's more interested in food, or maybe he doesn't know, that that's for Facebook or for Instagram. So you will get judged by the things that you post. And so it's important to take your time and say, what is the purpose around why I'm doing this? And so kind of care about quality of what you're posting matters more about when it comes to building your professional brand. Another thing I want to highlight is I have several friends and family who who because it's they don't easily land jobs because jobs are easily handed over to people that they are related to. Okay, it's called nepotism. When you are able to go into LinkedIn and create your own profile, okay, what you're doing is basically creating a profile or creating a brand so that other employers can look and see what you have been doing. So you have people that are relying on my aunties and uncles to give. This is a point where you can take the initiative and build your brand. Like Jennifer talked about your careers, the things that you've done, where you went to school. I go and look at those things. What did you comment on, and what did you say? Did it make sense? Does it align with our strategy or goal? Do you have a growth mindset? That kind of a thing. And so it gives you an opportunity to say, I can go and present myself there so that if I want jobs, I can apply for it from there. Or I can network with someone where I can get jobs from there. So it's a really, really powerful tool, to be honest with you. It eliminates, I think Mr. Byrne brought up a comment earlier on that that everybody should not be pursuing becoming a civil servant. This is one way that you can actually create your own role or your own professional brand so that you can get exposure to the point that someone might come and knock on your door and say, hey, I saw you spoke on this matter. Oh, I saw you post this article. Hey, can you come talk to my company about this? And then maybe can you work for my company about this? And so that's what I wanted to add to the conversation.
That's great.
Okay, I'm back. I have a question, Jennifer, and I am part of what I do is digital marketing, and I make informed insights from data. I know I can do that on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but I don't know how robust is LinkedIn's insight in terms of the analytics, the data behind. Can I be able? Do they have a dashboard like Facebook does, where I can get insights into the demographics, the locations, and stuff like that, which will guide my help me make informed decisions as far as developing and putting out content on the platform is concerned?
I think LinkedIn, I'm not sure for like third-party analytics, like if you're using Hootsuite or something to schedule your posts, if you can see on the back end. I know like native within the platform, I think that they do try and push people to have LinkedIn Premium or pay for one of the, I'm not using the analytics so much. I shared my screen here because you can see on the back end, I think, but maybe everyone can see this. I'm not sure. I do have Premium Career, but you can see the like who's viewed your profile and it'll show you whether that's like, this is just your personal profile. So for your own, and that can be interesting. It's great to see like who the people are that have looked at your profile. But what you can do yourself, and again, it's not an exportable that I can see, but I could just not know on the back end of the platform. But for your own posts, if you're wondering like, well, what's resonating with people? I come into my own activity here. I come to see all. I go to my, and then it immediately will pull up my all activities. So this is things that I liked, that I commented on, but I come to my own posts and I can see here, okay, this post, it got 723 views and 16 people liked it. So now this is not like a nice exportable content of like, I can put it in a spreadsheet, but I can just get a general idea like, okay, this one's gotten over 2,000 views. This one, only got 192. I wonder why, maybe because I didn't tag anybody and I only used a couple hashtags. So you can really start to get a trend for your own content, how many views it is, and you can pick up different, like, is it around the subject matter? You would maybe have to parse out on your own. I mean, you're the analyst, so you'll know what you would want to like take a look at. But I can tell that for me, my posts that do really well is where I'm talking about other people. Maybe it'll be myself, but if I use video, people love video. And then if I am tagging other people in the post, I usually do it with permission if it's, if they're not a close friend and I haven't talked with them already. But that generally does well, is tagging other people. So what do you think? I don't know. Does that answer your question? I think it's not as nimble of a platform in terms of analytics as like Facebook and others, but if you have the paid account, then you maybe are able to see better.
Okay.
But
okay.
if you, yeah.
You want to say something?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay, guys, the floor is still open. Does anyone has a question or a contribution? Mr. Humphrey, your mic is on. Do you have a question or a comment?
Hi. No comment. No comment.
Hi.
Okay, I guess your mic was on. Any other person with a question or a comment? Contribution?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay, Ubong, I'm correct, right? Yeah, Ubong, is
Sure,
that
you are. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. My name is Ubang, calling from Nigeria. I'm a student. I'm studying at University of Uyo, 100 level. My course of study is computer science. All right. I'm a web developer. Okay. Thanks to Jennifer for this slide and presentation. It's pretty cool. Now, talking about, adding stuff to your profile on Facebook and other social media. Now, we have names and we have nicknames. So, Miss Jennifer, could you please say something about, using your nickname instead of your name in some social media platform? And also, what do you think can be, posted on stories, status, and etc.? Thanks. That's my question.
So each of the platforms, I mean, maybe you have seen, people are losing job offers over social media posts. I think there was a high profile one recently about a woman on TikTok who posted something and she lost a job at Deloitte, one of the top 4 consulting firms in the world. I personally treat all social media as though any employer would be able to see it. So if you, because, hopefully your privacy settings are set so that people, you have it maybe on the back end, people can't see what you don't want them to see, but even private Twitter accounts, people can do screenshots of it. Same for Facebook. If I just don't personally use social media as a place where I'm going to share something. Well, I wouldn't want to be offensive to somebody anyways, but there's a difference too between having, your political views that you have to have a space to share them. But I'll start with a nickname one. For LinkedIn, use the name that you're going to put on an application because they want to be able to match. If you're putting your name in one way on a resume and submitting it, whatever name that you submit on your official forms and applications, be consistent, whatever it is. For your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that is a different story. I mean, I think that people can treat that differently. It depends on your employer though too, because some employers are going to go and they're going to look at all of those different social media profiles. Now the thing is, you can't help is if somebody has like my maiden name was Jennifer Davis, which in the United States is a very, very, very common name. Jennifer, there's like a lot of people named Jennifer, and then Davis is a very common last name. So people they could find the wrong person by searching my name. And that's why I think it's even more important to own your brand and own your work on platforms like LinkedIn so that you can redirect if maybe there was someone else who had your name who was doing something that you weren't wanting to be associated with, for example. By producing content on LinkedIn, it's going to show like this is who I am, and I'm using the same picture on all of my sites. I like the consistency. That's something just that I recommend is being consistent throughout, whether that's in your picture or in your voice and the types of information that you're putting out there. But again, for job seekers, I do not recommend thinking that any social media is actually private. I mean, you can keep the privacy controls on there, but don't put things out there that you don't want a future employer seeing. You just don't, it's just not a smart move. I see Niles shaking her head. I think she agrees.
No, it's true. That's true.
I mean,
it will come back to haunt you. It literally will come back to haunt you. Even on Facebook, I can tell you how many times I've typed something out and have backed out of it. I'm like, nope, I don't want them to see that. I don't want them to see that. I don't want them to see that. I'm being honest with you guys. It matters, right? You're creating a brand and you want that brand to reflect something, and you get to make that choice.
Well, and once you get into your industry too, the circles become so much smaller, whether in the same country or globally. People know one another. They will ask, oh, and the way that you present yourself online, just as the way you present yourself in person, you're constantly reflecting who you are and who people you want to be around and people like people are going to work with. So it's just something to keep in mind throughout all social media platforms. Yeah.
I didn't want to make.
I guess.
Go ahead, Mr. Uko.
I wanted to say that you guys are quite correct because from the point of look at it from the angle of selling your own brand. I think they will be more conscious of the things they put out there in public. For one, whenever I'm a panel interview session, most of the things I do is I am on my system, and when the candidate walks in, what I do is I go on their social media page and I have I take like 2 minutes to look at what they've been doing, what they like, what they share, because then it gives me insight to the value system of that candidate. So when he's seated in front of the panel saying one thing, and what I see on social media, especially LinkedIn or Facebook, is different from the person standing, I just know you're fake. So my grade or my rating, as far as that person is concerned, is going to be low because you're saying you're this person, but when I look at you are.
Oh, you're breaking up, Mr. Uko. Breaking up.
Look at it as okay, it's a free space. It's on the public space. You couldn't hear me. Oh, you didn't hear me at all. Can you hear me? I guess my network is acting funny. You can hear me?
It's better now.
Yeah.
Better now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, you didn't get
Can
what
you
I
just
said.
repeat me the last minute of what you said?
No, I just said if people look at the angle as you're selling your brand, you're selling yourself, then they should be conscious of the kind of thing they put out there because it speaks volume. It's the things you do unconsciously speaks more about your kind of person than the things you try to do consciously.
All right, thank you so much for that. I do have one extra question for Mr. Jennifer. Miss Jennifer, I just said that. I apologize. Miss Jennifer, is LinkedIn free?
Yes. So, is it a trick question? I mean, it is free to create an account, and then I actually don't recommend getting premium career because there's ways that you can work around. I mean, it's a great feature, but I think it's quite expensive. I think it's like $30 US a month. I'm not sure if the amount changes around the world or how they do that, but anything that you can do with premium, there are kind of back end ways that you can figure it out on without having it. So yes, to create a profile is free. And I really recommend getting in there, playing around. Sometimes I'll have students who say, oh, I don't want to start adding connections until my profile is perfect. And I say, you know, like, we're never perfect. None of it, we're all works in progress. So the way that I learn best is by doing. I know that's not everyone's, but I just recommend getting in there, seeing what other people are doing, and you emulate the things that you like. And then you don't do the things that you don't like. So play around. If you like your headline today, sometimes I'm constantly changing the words, not constantly, but maybe like once every 6 months, I go in there and I think, is this headline actually communicating who I am as a professional and what my interests are? And then if not, I go ahead and update that there. I was getting requests before because in my full-time job, I am a career coach, but I don't do private career coaching right now. So I took, because I had career coach in my headline, I took it out of my profile because I didn't want people thinking, I understood the confusion. They thought I was a career coach for hire, but I was not. So I took it out. So you'll maybe get the same thing for you. Like, is what you have in your headline actually what you're interested in? And do you feel like you're attracting the sort of people who are aligned with your interests and an area and different, whether, you know, and like you have so many interests, that's great. You want to be connecting with people who are interested in all those different things. But they won't know that if it's not in your profile. So if it's not in your profile, then can someone know that you're interested in it? They can't. Yeah.
That's right.
I hope that I'd love to connect with you all on LinkedIn, and I would love to hear, you know, what's helpful, please message me or make your own post, tag me in it. If you have found something useful from today, I can challenge, I think I'll be making my own takeaway post. Again, I really appreciate the invitation to even join today. This is such an honor to be here, and I look forward to staying connected with you all through LinkedIn.
Thank you. Great. So,
Jennifer, can you share your LinkedIn inside the in case anyone wants to connect with you, and everyone in the room? I think it's important for us to network with each other since we are here. Okay, to go ahead and add your LinkedIn inside the room so that we can, all connect to each other, know that we actually care about connecting.
Yes, can I go? I have a slight question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Brief
Can
introduction.
you speak up a little bit?
Experience
I
and
don't know.
network.
I think we can barely hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? What is it like? Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Kingsley. Okay. So my name is Kingsley, and I want to have a question about the comment that was made by Uko, probably which has echoed around the room, around the effect of social media. And I had an experience today. I was on Twitter and I saw a tweet. Someone asked people to show two very contrasting pictures of themselves. and it was a very busy post. And there were a lot of, you saw there, you could see surgeons that someone that posts a picture of his or herself in scrubs, and on the other hand, you see the person wearing bikini, tattooed in different forms, essentially showing two different contrasts of themselves. Now, I take this back to the comment that was made by Uko, and probably that has echoed around the room around you're looking at people's social media profiles and bringing it back into their professional life. I agree with everyone, it happens. But what the point I'm trying to draw out here is, how does this create some kind of unconscious bias or some bias? And in looking at building a profile of that person based on what you see on social media, what risk are you running in weeding out people who they are individuals and I will probably know a few of those individuals who, when you see them in the office, they are completely different from when you see them out in social circles. So the same person that you probably see in the office and you never think that he has any form of social life, you suddenly meet him outside and you wonder, how can this be the same person? So if you look at a prospective candidate's social media account and already build a picture about who that person is, and you're not listening, how does it affect your listening to what that person is doing professional if you meet someone that has those kind of two very diverse personalities? Thank you.
Okay, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, Jennifer, you want to take a go at that, or should I?
As you wish. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Go for it. I wasn't sure if the question was to me, so guess go, please.
On anyone that can start at it.
Okay, yes, is directed towards my comment. Now, what I'm trying to say is that if I'm in a and there are certain criteria, certain things we look for the applicants. And looking at interviewing the person, I'm not the only panelist, so I'm not going to say that everything is going to hinge on my comment or my rating of the candidate. But what I'm trying to say is that based on the kind of person we're looking out for, and the individual standing before me must be able to convince me that he is that ideal candidate. And part of what he does on social media, I should be able to get some of the some content from his public profile on social media that aligns with the kind of person he's trying to portray himself. Because if you're telling me this is the kind of person I am, then they should be, because what you do on social media most times are unconscious. Now, what you're doing on social media is unconscious, and that's your true self. That's your true self revealing you're revealing your true person. Now, it is easy for you to come and fake or coin personality before me now, but the things you do unconsciously speaks more volume of your kind of. So I need to tie what you do unconsciously to the person you're trying to portray and see if it marries. And if it marries, fine. But if it doesn't marry, then I know you're fake. That's from my own perspective. I don't know if any other person has anything to say.
Let me just chip in one or two words. I strongly believe that the social media universe has its own personality. And so each of us should approach it with a good understanding of the such dynamics. So as an individual, what it's just like I recognize the fact that if I'm in a city, there are different places I should go to and behave differently. And there are some places I should be, whether in a work environment or a work district or a social district that I could behave differently. That is how I approach social media. So there are some private groups that I belong to, maybe because by their nature, we are expected to behave in a particular way, and I conform with that. But what I post there or say there would be different from what I post, say, in the general platform where everybody can see, right? So on the other hand, if I were reading through people's posts, I also remain conscious of that, and so my judgment would be guided by my perception of the environment within social media that I find such posts. So that's how I'll be guided. So most times when we see things, for instance, if I may refer to Kingsley's question, or the example that he drew, where people were asked to post through contrasting photos. Perhaps the idea was to create a more entertaining atmosphere. Showing people in different situations of their life, because whether I would like it or not, we are not just one particular kind of person, right? So when people see that and refuse to appreciate the circumstance, just like meeting someone in a bar and say, oh, and the person was loud, and you go, and the next time you see the person somewhere, say, oh, the way I saw you in that bar talking, I didn't know that you could be like this. Why is it supposed to be here when it's in the bar, right? So that's how I approach social media, and I think that most times people overreact to either stories or photos that they see in social media because they refuse to appreciate the circumstance in which the stories or photos were posted.
Okay.
Thank you. A whole other session.
Yeah, exactly.
Jennifer is about to exit. Hello. Jennifer is about to exit. She has other things to attend to. So I
sorry,
guess
I only thought it was for 1 hour. I'm so sorry.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She's about to, because she has other things to attend to, and so have opportunity, connect with her now, or maybe you try and look for her on LinkedIn and connect with her. So Jennifer, once again, I want to say thank you much for doing us this honor, coming on the platform. It's a pleasure, and you've really shared insight. I personally took notes while you were presenting, because there are certain things, just like Ben said, there are lots of, I am not optimizing or utilizing LinkedIn the way I'm supposed to. So after the presentation, I'm going to maximize every opportunity available. So thank you very much. Now, do you have anything to say before Jennifer leaves?
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us and sharing your wealth of.
Yeah, this is a real treat. I hope to stay in touch with you all on LinkedIn. My family's hoping to move back to West Africa in the next few years to Senegal. So if anyone is living in that area or connected there, always excited to make connections to that. But looking forward to staying in touch. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to join. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. All right, so guys, we can continue the conversation, right? Okay.
Yeah, there was one thing I wanted to add. I think that if you go to Instagram, the image that you might present there might be what you want people to know about you, that you are pretty, or you things and all that stuff. That's what you want, and so your real authentic self might not come out. When you think about building your professional profile, to make sure that is authentic and that is real. Okay, and you want to make sure that you present facts about you, in your facts about your interests. You don't want to offend other people, so um, just make sure that you get the information you actually put out there, right? It's kind of like saying palm oil comes from coconut fruit. Okay, if I go and make those kind of statements on LinkedIn, I'm gonna lose credibility just like that, because they're gonna be like, somebody who is gonna go see my resume, and it's gonna my LinkedIn profile, and it's gonna say that palm oil comes from coconut, and he's gonna be like, Niles not a serious person, and he's gonna, everything I'm gonna say, he's gonna be like, no, well, look at Niles. She doesn't even know that palm oil comes from palm fruit. So you want to be as authentic as you can, and you want to project the image that you want, right? Nobody's perfect, we know that, but you want to project the image about you that you want the employee to know about you. So that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. I guess some people are not comfortable with the comment where I said I do look at people's profile and make some level of judgment based on what they post. But I do that.
I do that
Because
too.
all I try to do is to draw.
I do that too.
So what we post on public space, because it speaks volume about the kind of person we are too. So
that is it.
Sorry, Uko. Let me just respond to that. Apologies, just a minute to respond to that.
No, it's not like
it's
a conversation.
I'm not uncomfortable. No, I get it. I'm not uncomfortable really with it, and I know unfortunately it happens. What I'm just bringing out for us to have a conversation about is we also have also sat. One of the things we have been told in interviewing is, a question I've been asked, which left me a bit stumped, is, okay, so you're in a professional interview, you're probably interviewing for say an investment banker, and someone walks in with dreadlocks, and okay, it's probably more common now to see investment bankers bedded, but you see a bedded person. Your typical profile of an investment banker is a clean-shaven guy, white shirt, dark suit, and everything. And someone in the mold of a typical artist walks into that room. What is your first reaction? And all of us were like, well, he's probably in the wrong place.
Stereotyping.
Exactly, profiling, stereotyping. And it was all about, so why, okay, and okay, that's what probably everybody's reaction. And you probably allow the guy to ask the guy to introduce himself, and he goes ahead and tells you about how he graduated from top of the class in one of the best business schools. He's probably worked in a couple of, like I said, when we were having this discussion was in those days when you can't even have a full bed in a corporate bank. Today, it's becoming normal. So it's the reason why I brought it out is I know it happens, and I tell a lot of young people that I talk to, be careful about what you post out there. But the truth is that we, like Ben pointed out, we can be two completely different people. I have friends in school. Ben was in my class. We have friends that we thought were no good, that will never amount to anything. Today, a number of them are shocking. We didn't know that they practically live two different lives. So you won't see them in class. You won't know that they are otherwise very seriously engaged elsewhere. So it's. I just brought it out for also for all of us that interview. Appearances can be very, very deceptive. That's the only reason why I brought it. I know it happens, and for young people on the call today, clearly careful about what you put out there, but you can be shocked. That's just to bring it up and have a conversation around it. It's not about not being comfortable. I know it happens. I've seen it all over the place, but there are exceptions. There are outliers all over the place, and you could easily miss it to profile people. Thanks.
Okay. I just want to weigh in a little into the conversation. Mora speaking. Hello.
Yeah,
Hi.
Yeah, we can hear you, Mora.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. in fact, not really maximize LinkedIn, but for the little things experiments I've done, there's a facility in LinkedIn that enables you to make yourself available to recruiters privately to recruiters. I enabled that just to recruiters. Non-recruiters are not supposed to see, but I don't know how well that happens. So I made myself available.
There's an analytics feature that is available to some class of accounts.
Yes. I think you need to be on premium subscription to do that. So I just said, let me test my worth in the market space sometime last year, and I said, okay, I'm available for this kind of jobs, any software engineering job, any SAP project management job, any one other job, business analyst job in Africa, in Europe, and in the US. In 9 weeks, I got an email. No, I got a buzz on LinkedIn by a HR lady that works with Adexen, ADEXEN.
Yeah, we know Adexen.
Fine. Yeah. So, and she was like, that she saw I'm available. I said, yes, I'm available. What do you have a job for me? She said, they're actually looking for someone who would drive, what does she call that? SAP COE manager for a big manufacturing firm, that multinational, but has a strong presence in Lagos. And she doesn't know that she has looked through my profile. She doesn't know if I will be available for that, but it's not a short-term stuff. It's going to be a full-time. So I was impressed. I said, so this stuff works. We started talking. I said, okay, let me see what the role is so we can engage. So I led her on. She sent me an email with the role that she just go to the site, submit. That even if I will not be available, they would like to get references from me, from some people within my network that have experience that matches that role. So just by enabling that stuff, that is one. I'm building a new skill set and I'm trying to penetrate a new ecosystem in the AI world. So if not for the COVID-19, I should have been on my summer term in Minneapolis, St. Thomas, University of St. Thomas. However, it didn't happen, courtesy of COVID-19. But all the key people in the institution I want to go to are already on my LinkedIn. The director for Center for Applied AI, University of St. Thomas, Professor, I think Regi or something, Indian American, is already there. All the key chaps in that has anything to do with machine learning, in select organizations, Facebook AI group, Google's AI group, I discovered that JP Morgan has one of the largest collection of talent in AI. They have an AI research center. They have a center of excellence for machine learning. I pick these guys, check their profile on LinkedIn. In most cases, I get really encouraged that, if this guy could transit from this role to become this and became a VP within 2.5 years, I can get some scenarios that I can play around my head and say, I can use this to model my growth path myself, just conceptually. It is free to dream. So the execution is a different. So, and you get all that in LinkedIn. So, but you have to structure my introduction to these guys. So I've built a whole profile of very resourceful people in AI and data science and machine learning that I'm building skill sets on. And LinkedIn was the primary or is the primary tool that I'm using to drive this. In fact, if I'm looking for anything, the first thing I check is, oh, we need someone to do this stuff, A or B or C, whether privately or I first of all look at who has done this, and my first point of call is LinkedIn.
Wow. Wow.
So LinkedIn, I've not even maxed it. It's a powerful tool, very powerful. Even as a business, you can because when you're signing up for premium subscription, you choose what you want. There are, I think, three categories. If you're a business, you're looking for clients or all that, or if you are an individual, you want to you're looking for a job, and if you're an individual, you want to shape your, I don't know, there's another category like that. So I'm not even talking about the the resources in LinkedIn. If you sign up for premium subscription, is about equivalent of $29, about just less than 15,000 naira a month. The access to what you get from LinkedIn Learning, it's enormous. The only limitation is yourself in terms of having access to content that you can use to build yourself. And once you're on premium and you're looking like at Uko's, like Uko, your page, there's a subscription. I think it also happens for non-premium subscribers. You see some relevant skill sets trainings that that you can get if or you can consider if you want to have the experience or profile or skill set of the person you're looking at his page.
Yeah.
So, and I've also seen a friend of mine. Most of his jobs that he's in the marketing. He's a marketing professional. Most of his jobs after he moved from Glow to cyberspace. From cyberspace, cyberspace is owned by Zenith, I guess. It's the Zenith IT arm. So from cyberspace to all the jobs he changed, and all those jobs were international jobs. From cyberspace to Microsoft to Samsung to what do you call this? EMC, now acquired by Dell. To he works for Turaya now. Okay, he came in one of our sessions. Victor, LinkedIn was a huge tool in his sourcing for opportunities that he can take advantage of, apart from some other complementary tools. So I really enjoyed today's session, even though I was multitasking, I couldn't contribute earlier. Nice one, Uko. Thanks for organizing.
Thank you very much. I guess it's been a wonderful session. I've learned a lot. I've learned from the presenter. I've learned from our conversation as well, because every conversation contribution today, everybody made valid points. And I don't know if we still have any comments or before we wrap up this session and look out next week's session. Okay.
Yes. Thanks, Mr. Tuko. Right. Still on okay, boiling down to what Jennifer said about creating profiles on social platforms or social medias. In a situation that someone is under pressure or is not really allowed to associate himself with such opportunities like joining social medias and platforms, like in my case, I disguise myself a lot. If you're searching for my name on Facebook, you won't get me. But if you're using my nickname, you will get me. Why? Because of my papa don't want me to be on Facebook. So if it's reported that I'm on Facebook, or he gets an information that I'm on Facebook,
Are
or he
you
sees my
underage?
picture, so he gets to email get me fired. So things like that. So or
Are
maybe
you
more
are you
so.
underage?
Hello.
He's a first year student in the
Are
university.
you underage? Well, they allow you to the social media.
Yeah, okay, society, I mean, the religion they believe, the church they go, they say they should not join Facebook, things like that. So he, as a pastor, is trying to stop me, but then I don't want to be stopped. I don't really understand. So things like that. So how can I move on and climb over the barrier and still, move forward?
Wow.
Is it
I don't know if another one can attempt that. I think I don't know what to say as far as that's concerned. I'm still my kids are still very young, so my parenting experience has not gotten to that. Please come to my rescue.
Uko, Kai Uko, you know you have a lot to say.
Hello, can I come in?
Yeah. Please
Hello?
go ahead.
Okay, okay, can you hear me? My own suggestion is everybody has his own limitation in terms of knowledge and exposure. Sometimes we mix spirituality with things that are not supposed to get mixed up with. And at the end of the day, some people end up confusing others in the name of you don't have to be on Facebook, you don't have to be on this or that. Two ways of joining any social media feed. If you are looking at it from the way we are from all the talk we had today, the purpose, what is the purpose of LinkedIn? Is you are looking at promoting your brand, you're thinking of promoting your career and so on and so forth. So what is your purpose if you've done your own little research? What's my purpose of joining Facebook? Is it for me to network with people like minds, people who help me to get better than instead of listening to somebody? I'm not trying to throw away, okay, the opinion of somebody can have his own personal opinion on any issue. But personally, I'm independent minded. I can take my decision and whatever I want to, which as far as I know is something that will add value to me, career wise and otherwise. So it's a personal thing. So at your age and at your levels, nobody's supposed to influence you. Once you know the purpose of what you are getting into is something that is going to add value to you. I think that's my own take on it.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Well, me, it's kind of it's difficult because I understand your dad pays your fees. You're currently dependent on your dad, and going against his instruction or command might be counterproductive as far as your going forward career-wise is concerned. I know probably maybe it will be difficult for you to try and educate your dad to the point where he understands like what you said, the purpose of you coming on social media platform. But I'll say, okay, Facebook is popular and sure your dad is against Facebook because of what the notion or the belief they have about Facebook or what people do on Facebook. But LinkedIn, it's one option that is available to you. So I'm sure if you're on LinkedIn, your dad might not be on LinkedIn, your dad's friends might not be on LinkedIn. So you could leverage the opportunities on LinkedIn as against Facebook. Opinion. That's my own simple opinion. I mean, coming from the back, because I grew up under a very strict father. I understand the implications or the consequences of going against your father's wish. So I wouldn't advise you to go against your father's wish. But I'm just trying to apply wisdom and intelligence.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. How
Can
did
I
you
just
join
say a
that?
few words? I know it's quite late, and I think we are getting ready to close. So maybe in just about 2 or 3 minutes, I will just say that perhaps we'll bring this issue back in a subsequent program because it hinges on the rights of individuals when it comes to social media. All right, there's a big confusion here, or rather, infringement on rights of of, younger adults. All right, and I think for the most part, there are a lot of things that have been left unattended to in Nigeria. All right, and so we have this tendency to use religion or other cultural uh, cultural influences to to exert control, so to speak, on kids, which could be wrong, right? There's no way we can give a response to the question you've asked here, without um, um, accepting the fact that it is personal. But as long as we don't have regulations or common principles that are practiced in schools, in organizations, then there'll continue to be a problem. My kids attend public schools in Boston. My last daughter just got opened her Facebook account last week or so. She's 4 years old, and she opened her Facebook for the first time, and that's because it is used in school as part of, they use Google Classroom, and part of what they have to do is to have a Facebook. Other than that, she would not have any reason to open a Facebook account, right? So yeah, we just do things, let's say, religion and all that. Meanwhile, those same pastors, they cast their church sessions on social media and the rest of it, but they stop their kids. So I think this is very personal, and you should, even as a student now, you should have LinkedIn account. But I don't know about other app, Facebook and IG. It all depends. So there's really nothing I can say.
Say one thing before you close out, Mr. Cole. One thing I had one of my kids want to actually start designing and designing and posting something on a design platform. And so what I did to her was, okay, you want to design and post something on the platform. I need you to make that design, why you want to do it. Give me 3 reasons to support why you want to do it, and let me know what the consequences are. If it works, and if it doesn't work, what's your exit plan? So I made her to go and do that. She had on her own, during her time, and she had to present it to my time. Literally, I recorded her why she do it. So I'm sharing that with you is because as you're going to be communicating with your parents or whomever has control or jurisdiction over you, it's important for you to help them understand why today we're shifting into digitization. And if they want you to be successful, they need to allow you to at least spread your wings. It is up to you to try to help them understand that. It doesn't mean that they will understand, but you can at least take your time to explore why and why not, and try to help them at first. Because like Uko said, they may be your source of income, they may be your source of feeding and all of that stuff, and you don't want to, and then your school fees and all that. We're trying not to say go do whatever you want. It doesn't make sense. But help educate them, because they probably have other influence and they need to also educate other people. So you can consider it as an idea. And with that said, I hand it over to you, Mr. Ko, to close the conversation.
All right, guys. It's been a wonderful evening, and I thank everybody for coming, and for those of us who've been able to stay with 19 to 20 participants, and now we're down to 10. But it was nice because I think even when by the time Jennifer left, we still were about 17 or thereabout. Thank you guys for always making out time to join the conversation. Next week is another date. We have a fabulous guy us things around how to use drones, technology, how to use drones for future of work. And I think maybe how governments themselves too can also apply the drones into whatever they do and in this digital economy. His name is Enomo, and he's a great guy. I know him in person, and he's been presenting all over the globe. I must say, in the United States, in Nigeria, and other African countries, in South Africa. And I'm sure it's going. And so let's try to make sure that when the publicity is out, let's share it amongst our connections, our friends, and ensure that they be part of next week's session. So from my end, I just want to say thank you. I find it an honor to always have you guys join us on a Saturday like this for this session. So thank you, Mr. Ben. Thank you, Humphrey. Thank you, Imo. I can see you, Kingsley, Mr. Kingsley. Thank you, and thank you, Niles, especially. Abraham, okay, I think he just stepped out. Abraham and James are part of my team, and Yvonne, they're part of Miracle Labs. They were in the session, but I think they've dropped off. So thank you, guys, and I hope to see you guys next week. Thank you, Niles.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.